Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are going to finish Unit 7. This is our last day. I think we got through it, and this is probably day 6. And so we're going to talk about noise pollution, which I believe is Objective 7.8 on the CED. So, noise pollution is going to be like what we spoke about before. Pollution is a term used to describe anything that becomes dangerous to an organism or a human. Humans and organisms, I guess, are the same thing. So there are things that cause more noise and less noise. I guess you could debate, man. A cricket outside my window is really going to annoy me, specifically late at night, and they're going crazy. I know this happens every September. I'm that crazy guy who goes out of his house at 2 o'clock in the morning with a flashlight looking for that cricket because they always want to go right underneath my window and sing that lovely song. But I digress. Noise pollution is an issue. If I could wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go outside, this is causing lack of sleep. Lack of sleep causes stress. Stress causes anxiety. All of these things can affect my health as well as the health of organisms out in the wild. Okay, so noise is measured in something we call decibels, and so we could abbreviate decibels with the sign dB here. To give you a frame of reference, normal conversation is roughly 60 to 65 decibels. All right, and so that is pretty much where you want to be. A lawnmower is about 90, a rock concert 120. Anything above 85, it's recommended to protect your ears. So some ear protection needs to be worn or is recommended to be worn. Now you're young and you hear everything and everything is good and so on and so forth. Uh, but this is like, your hearing is very important throughout your life. And just a word of caution, not trying to give anybody anxiety, but if you listen to very loud music, the ear, once it's fully developed, doesn't necessarily regenerate and so on and so forth. So it becomes desensitized the longer and longer you damage the eardrums. So that's why, as you get older, you hardly get to hear anything, perhaps because you damaged those ears throughout your life. Perhaps the job you had, particularly, there was a lot of loud stuff going on. So just protect your ears. Okay. So, where are some sources of very loud noise pollution? Now, an airport is should be a easy understanding. There's a lot of air. I mean, there's a lot of noise going. I'm sorry. There's a lot of noise going on in an airplane and an airport. And if you ever look, there's hardly any organisms that are there. I mean, I've never seen a bear at an airport. Sometimes you do see some geese there. Sometimes you do see some cats there, but in general, you're not seeing deer around our airports. You're not seeing any type of reptiles. You're not seeing any type of songbirds. You're not seeing dogs. You're not seeing wolves. You're not seeing coyotes. You're not seeing anything like that. And it's because it's so loud in that given area. Matter of fact, noise can scare off a lot of different organisms. So if we go to Elizabeth Newark and the industry and the power plants, you may not see a lot of wildlife in that centralized location. They may choose not to land there or not go there at all because they're scared. There's a loud noise. And then that changes. Let's say if you drive down to Pennsylvania, you're driving somewhere where there's not an urban area, there's not a lot of construction sites, there's not a lot of airports, there's not a lot of trains that are, blowing their horns and trucks that are blowing their horns. Then you may see a lot more wildlife approach for that. So the connection I'm trying to make here is that urban areas are typically going to be loud areas because there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of trucks, there's trains, there's usually an airport next to that area. And that is the connection that we're trying to make right here. All right. So would you be able to um, tell me an area that is specifically has a higher concentration of noise in your head? You should be able to say, hey, a train station has a lot of noise, an airport has a lot of noise, a rock concert has a lot of noise, a construction site has a lot of noise. Okay. Up here is a nice little scale. And once again, that normal conversation is between 55 and 65. We think 65. 65 is that magic number. And as you go higher up, okay, over here at 85 plus decibels, hearing protection is recommended. You could wear something like this, and typically a jet is way over on this scale, and you could cause some serious damage from your ears at that point. And so, should you or could you wear some type of ear protection? These are some earplugs. Earplugs help me actually study. They get rid of all that white noise that sometimes enters that head. All right, let's continue. Okay, so like I said before, but now we're officially writing down what can noise pollution cause to organisms as well as humans. The same. Stress, anxiety, lack of sleep. Okay. I have an interesting story. Do you want to hear a story? I'm going to tell you the story. I hope you like the story. So, we used to live in Jersey City. Jersey City is an urban area, and the homes are relatively close to each other. We lived in a three-family home, and there was the identical house right next to us, and there was 3 feet in between my place and the neighbor's place. Well, the neighbor was roughly our age, and we had our baby, and they had their baby, but it was like the same. Every house is kind of like the same construction. All right. So, make a long story short, this guy used to have parties in his backyard, and we had a newborn, and we try to raise our kids with a sleep schedule and so on and so forth. So, around 8 o'clock, we are my wife literally had aluminum foil on the windows to block out any sun. We had the knockout curtains. We had the noise machine, so on and so forth. And we're trying to make this room like a cave so our daughter doesn't wake when she sleeps. Uh, so anyhow, the neighbor used to throw these parties on Friday and Saturday, and he'd be blasting the music, and I just didn't understand because they had a baby as well. This is a horrible story, and of course, it's going on YouTube. They 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 had a baby as well, and I'm like, how does his wife allow him to have a party, and basically the baby sleeps? I don't know how that happens. So anyhow, I went into the back and I asked him politely. I'm like, hey man, you have a baby. Can you quiet it down? And he goes, yeah, 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 yeah. Sorry, sorry, sorry. So I go back inside. 20 minutes later, the music is blasting again. Go outside again, speak to him. You gotta be nice to your neighbors. Hey, buddy, I'm trying to sleep. It's getting late. Got work tomorrow. Whatever, whatever. Yeah, yeah, sorry, sorry. Come back in, same old thing. Call the cops. Call the cops twice. Still just not get it. And so I'm just like, lack of sleep, stress, anxiety, all of the above. Okay. And I'm losing my mind. But then I decided to get smart. Ask me what I did. Ask me what I did. I'll tell you what I did. So I started thinking of room design, and I started. This is such a bad thing. I started thinking of room design, and the way the house is designed is like you can walk in through the front. Then there typically that's the living room. Then there's 2 bedrooms, and the bedroom will be towards the backyard. However, I was thinking there's no way that his baby is sleeping in the backyard. They must have transitioned the front room as a bedroom, right? For the baby. So since the dad was in the backyard, the baby could sleep in the front. Now our baby was towards the back. So I sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. Okay. So what I did was I actually had a boom box. I don't know if you guys know what a boom box is. Equivalent to, let's say, one of those speakers that you had at that point. And I decided that, you know what, if you're gonna blast your radio, I'm gonna blast my radio. So I took the radio in the front, and I actually pointed it towards their house in the front. And when he had his radio on, after I spoke to him, please turn it down, and he wouldn't, I basically blasted the radio. And so I blasted salsa music towards that side of the front of the house. I'm telling you, within 5 to 10 minutes, quiet. People were out, kicked out of the house, so on and so forth. I must have woke up the wife and the baby, and the baby took care of it. I feel bad. I woke up a sleeping baby, but at the same time, you're trying to wake up my baby. So okay, this is a fictitious story. It didn't really happen. What are we trying to talk about here? Noise pollution. What does it build? Anxiety, stress, lack of sleep. It could happen to humans. It could happen to animals. It could happen to anything. So, interesting, fun story. Hope you enjoyed that. Okay. Once again, try to remember that 65 decibels is going to be normal conversation. Anything above 85 is going to require or recommended to wear some ear protection. Okay. So please wear some ear protection at concerts. I don't know if you could. I don't even know. Take care of your ears, okay? Take care of your ears. A jackhammer, look, 110 decibels. Ambulance, 120. Jet taking off, 140. Okay. Firecracker or shotguns, or you should wear some ear protection as well. Okay. I don't know if you ever seen babies at concerts or even babies at other places. I know we did this with our child at a football game. We would put earmuffs on them, because they can't understand what's going on. They just know that their ears particularly hurt. And when you're young, you hear more than what you're hearing when you're older because your ears are nice, young, and fresh. As opposed to old ears over here where I'm growing hair out of my ears. I digress. Let's keep going. Okay. So, what can noise pollution further do to different types of organisms? Specifically, how are they affecting organisms? So, they can stress them out, they can mask their own sounds. Okay. So, the birds that wake me up at 5 o'clock in the morning, they're communicating to try to find mates, to try to show dominance and ownership of their nests. They're trying to perhaps scare off rivals and so on and so forth. So they're communicating. They're having a huge conversation. If a jackhammer is going on, if there's a lot of traffic, they're not going to be able to communicate with each other. So the amount of singing birds in an urban area to a suburban area is very different. You're going to see a lot more in a suburban area and a rural area than you're going to see in an urban area. Okay. Now, it can also change migratory route patterns. Okay. Whales specifically are really susceptible to sound. They communicate via sound. They have full out conversations. Moms can find their babies if the babies get lost for some odd reason by calling each other. You know, typically they're members of a pod. And sometimes a sound can separate the pod. Sometimes they actually separate on purpose to hunt more effectively. Or there's a warning cry, and I've seen a story where the males go one way, the females and the young go another way, because the males are trying to draw off people who were hunting them. Anyhow, if they separate, they can communicate via sound. But if there's a propeller in the water, if there's oil drilling in the water, if there's some type of loud sound, all right, uh, uh, you know, throwing them off, then they could lose their family, and that's sad. And that might actually explain sometimes why whales actually end up beached somewhere. It could change their migratory route. Okay, they can say, oh, instead of making that left, we make a right, and now they're not going to go into their areas where they're going to find food at a particular time of seasons or mates and so on. Okay, migratory routes are very important. It's a reoccurring theme. Understand why organisms will migrate is important. So typically, organisms will migrate in order to find mates and have a suitable area to raise young. Okay. Um, and also in the pursuit of food. Sometimes their food is migrating, so they're going there, or to find food. All right. So I gave you three there: to raise young, to find mates, and to find food, or if their food migrated as well. Sound can throw this all off. Okay. So what other organisms communicate via sound? We talked about birds, frogs. Frogs communicate via sound. All right. And I'm through owls. I know owls is a particular type of bird, but one of the cool things I ever did is at nighttime, if you go outside and you go to a forested area, you can hear these owls. And there's not too many different types here in New Jersey, so you could figure out and learn their calls. Really interesting thing to do. You know what I don't like? I don't like the blue jay sound. You could Google that, and it's just horrible. It's such a pretty, majestic looking bird, and it sounds so horrible. It's like ah ah, it's horrible sound. And like this beautiful bird, like I said, is majestic and everything like that. This thing is so aggressive. I've seen it like decapitate baby birds and eat heads. It is crazy. You think like this blue jay's all happy eating seeds or whatever. This thing will eat anything it can put its mouth in. It's literally a flying dinosaur. Um, and anyhow, okay. Lastly, sometimes prey can't hear their predator, and sometimes the predator can't hear their prey because there's just too much noise. going on. And a lot of noise would be in traffic areas and when there's a lot of cars, airports, train stations, bus stops. This is where you're going to get a majority of your noise pollution. So, what can you do? Like, what can you do to decrease the amount of noise pollution? I live in Colonia, not too far away from the Garden State Parkway. And typically on the weekends at nighttime, I'm hearing cars because they're showing off. They're just peeling out on the Garden State Parkway. And so the faster you go, the louder the engine is going to make sounds. So, and sometimes when you're a certain age, you want to show off and you put like a large cap on your muffler and you're making loud sounds. If I am talking about you, this is you. I don't like that stuff, man. I'm trying to sleep. I don't want anxiety. I don't want lack of sleep. Okay, do that somewhere else. Anyhow, um, so decreasing the speed limit is one thing that you could possibly do. And now, like I was saying, in the weekends at nighttime, regardless of the speed limit 65, some people are not going to listen to that and they're going to go 185, so on and so forth. So I saw Newark, New Jersey actually did this. They set this up. They put speed bumps in the road and they're not that very far from each other because people were flying. So they put speed bumps. If you put speed bumps, this forces people to go slow or they're just going to go flying over the speed bumps. Okay. You could set up no idling zones. So I know our school has this is a no idle zone and no buses are allowed to just basically stay on. That's just creating noise for no apparent reason. If you go on the Garden State Parkway or if you go on any highway, you're often going to see on the sides of the roads, there's like a barrier. Okay. There could be trees or a barrier, just a barrier. And that's a sound barrier. It's a sound barrier that's designed to try to trap that air, the sound from going into the residential areas. Okay. So those are some technologies that you can use. Let's try to understand that. Lower the speed limit, no idling zones, create sound barriers, and also maybe some speed bumps to stop transportation areas. Okay, so those are some technologies used to reduce the amount of noise pollution. All right, looks like we're done, and we're going to have a quiz and a test. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.